let's talk about the game Pokemon Channel. It's awful! So the game starts with a bunch of Magnemite carrying a television, and if even a passing knowledge of electronics has taught me anything, that TV is completely screwed now. It turns out that television is actually a present from Professor Oak, who wants us to be a test audience for a brand new service called Pokemon Channel. The main premise is that you have to watch a bunch of Pokemon-themed TV shows for the sake of research. First off, you have to start by watching an anime short featuring the Pichu brothers. Who are the Pichu brothers? They were in a couple of mini-episodes presented before some of the Pokemon movies, and you haven't thought about them since. Don't pretend you remember them, I certainly didn't. This short doesn't have anything to do with the game as such, it's just a Pokemon episode, and not a very good one. The entire short is presented from the perspective of Pokemon with no human characters. You might say this is a good avenue for visual storytelling, but nope. There's a narrator to tell you everything the Pokemon are doing, going to do, or have done. Thank you, game, but believe it or not, I do have functioning eyes. After 5 minutes, the short ends on "to be continued," because why not? And here, the professor asks us to file a report. I say file a report, actually you're just saving the game. As much as I would love to give my constructive criticism on this piece of shit programming, you can't actually do anything. Where did that cry come from? Probably 2004 from a child who got cheated out of 40 quid when they bought this. No, it wasn't. It's actually a Pikachu who wants to talk to you. Apparently it has some interest in watching the television, so Professor Oak asks if you can monitor Pikachu's viewing habits. So this is where the bulk of the game is. You're watching TV channels with a Pikachu in the room, so let's go over all the shows. First is the Pokemon Channel News presented by a Psyduck. I hate this! I really hate this! The entire show is just listening to Psyduck sound effects and reading the subtitles to know what it's actually saying. I think there's maybe 4 different Psyduck sounds for about 90 seconds of news bulletins. It's torture! It's actual torture! You know that thing young children do when they want attention, so they just repeat the same word over and over again to the point where you want to kill that child? That is what this show is. I would be willing to murder a child to make it stop. Sometimes Meowth will pop up for an on-the-scene interview with another Pokemon, but all these interviews simply involve Meowth nodding politely to whoever he talks to. Half of them don't even make sense. A Gloom asks Meowth if they smell bad, and Meowth just responds with, "I see." By the way, the quote-unquote news you're presented with are actually just loose facts about Pokemon presented as stories. We have received word that Wooper has beaten its personal record of shooting water using water gun. Riveting. I think Psyduck is just as invested as me in terms of the news reports, because if you watch for over 5 minutes, he just starts to fall asleep. Even the camera crew start to fuck off. Next channel is Quiz Wobbuffet. This is a quiz game for 3 contestants, but not you. You have to watch computer contestants, because why the hell would you want to interact with an interactive medium? The computers play 2 rounds of 3 questions, a silhouette round where you have to guess a Pokemon by its shadow, a peekaboo round where you guess a Pokemon by looking at it through a crack in the wall, and a cry round where you determine the Pokemon based on the cry it makes. But not the cry you hear in the RPG games, which sounds like a computer being butt-fucked. You actually listen to the Pokemon cries from the anime. You know, the cries from that TV show where the Pokemon just say their name. You have to guess what Pokemon it is based on that. Much like Psyduck, Wobbuffet only has 4 different sound effects, and I should mention that because you have a Pikachu watching the TV with you, they will add their own sound effects. No matter what you watch, you will always be able to hear Pikachu's voice. When it comes to the quiz, you do get to answer some questions in the ad breaks, and in answering those questions, you earn money to buy things from the Squirtle shopping channel. The main things you can buy are decorations for your room, different wallpapers, and something called nice cards. These are collectible trading cards that are collectible for the sake of being collectible. They are nothing more than renders of Pokemon character models, but they did a pretty shit job because some of them aren't even centered to the screen. Why is Octillery so far away? Of course, what's the purpose of buying decorations to put in your room if you can't look around it? Unfortunately, there's very little to do, as it seems you've been living in relative poverty, entertained only by a clock and a painting. Pikachu can interact with stuff, but it's not like he does a lot and he gets bored pretty quickly, much like anyone else who would play this game. Put trash where it belongs? I couldn't agree more. Going back to the TV, there is another channel I didn't talk about called Fitness with Smoochum. Judging by this show, I assume the Pokemon channel fell because I've seen pictures of Smoochum later in life, and let me tell you, she let herself go. All this channel involves is watching a bunch of Smoochum do an approximation of what exercise looks like. Barely anything changes depending on how many times you watch it, and unlike other fitness channels, it's a lot harder to wank over. Now, as it stands, that is all the programs the game has to offer you. What they want you to do is tune in every day for 5 days, getting a snippet of the Pichu short each time you log in, and also a couple extra channels. There is, however, one thing I neglected to mention about day 1. Professor Oak also supplies you with something called Smeargle 2. I assume Smeargle 1 topped himself. What Smeargle lets you do is take a still image from the Pichu short and paint over them, and I do mean any still image. The main reason this feature is shit, besides not having a mouse to colour with because this is a GameCube game, any still image you take from the Pichu shorts will have horrible artifacting. The black lines don't connect properly, so using the fill bucket, which by the way is the only functional tool you get, is rendered useless. You can sell the paintings for more money, and there is a channel where your art can be critiqued, but what's the point? The art critic just talks some bollocks about brushstrokes. I was using the fucking fill bucket, for God's sake! Anyway, after all that, Pikachu gets excited and breaks the TV, meaning we can only watch in black and white. The only way to change that is to come back tomorrow in real world time and tune in again. Fortunately, in-game clocks are easy to manipulate. Fuck if I'm wasting a whole 5 days on this piece of shit. The next channel we unlock is called Slowpoke Weather Channel. This is horrible. All you do is watch a Slowpoke walk back and forth until he decides to tell you the weather. You could be waiting actual minutes for the results, and I get the fact he's slow is sort of the joke, but it's not funny because all the channels are just as slow and uneventful. I have seen graveyards with more life in it. The reason you might want to know the weather is because you can go outside and play with Pikachu. You wander around your garden with the yellow prick, telling him to interact with things, although Pikachu can choose to ignore you if he wants to. So basically, it's like looking after a child and somehow less rewarding. You can also talk to other Pokemon, and if you answer their questions, you will earn more cards. This is the closest thing to a game you will find in this game. It's still bare bones and not fun at all, but it is, technically speaking, a game. And I know using the phrase technically speaking nullifies the compliment, but technically speaking, I don't give a shit. You can also buy bus passes to other areas to explore with Pikachu, but get ready for what is maybe the stupidest decision someone has ever made. You don't simply get the ability to travel to a place you have access to, you have to wait for the bus. You have to wait for the bus! I thought video games were a method of escapism. Why don't I file my tax returns while I'm at it? Anyway, eventually the game progresses and you can give your Pikachu a name. I call mine Shithead. No, I don't care. Do you ever think I cared? New channel, Examination. Guess what Pokemon will hatch from an egg based on its color? Some of the Pokemon eggs are plain white, so how can you guess? Well, don't worry. The Pokemon will make its own cry every 30 seconds to tell you what will hatch. There is no reward for guessing correctly. Even then, if you aren't watching the channel at the exact right time, the egg will hatch without you because I guess this TV show is being filmed live. Don't they usually save live broadcasts for big events like sports tournaments? In fact, while I think about it, this game doesn't have a sports channel. Wouldn't it have been cool to see Pokemon battles on the TV? Well, according to this game, live birth is more interesting. I mean, it's not like there's any other Pokemon games based around battling, are there? Next channel, Chansey Fortune. Choose a fortune cookie and have it read. And just like normal fortune cookies, they're full of bullshit. You may not have any shape, but you can see feelings. What am I supposed to do with this information? My Smeargle's been upgraded to work on all channels now. It's still shit! Next channel, Odd One Out. Count the number of oddish and determine whether there's an odd or even number. Because this is a fucking preschool game now. Next channel, Chum Chum Ranking. It's a bunch of fake opinion polls. I'll give you my opinion. Fuck this game! These are all so boring, mind-numbing, tedious, monotonous. And just when you think the game can't possibly get any worse, just when you think this game couldn't possibly be trying any harder to make you fall asleep, the final channel you unlock is Counting Sheep. You get to watch a bunch of Mareep jumping over a fence. Am I going crazy? The funniest part about this one is if you watch more than 50 sheep, the show ends with to be continued. Ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next episode. Could it by any chance be more Counting Sheep? Okay, let's take a step back and actually look at this game properly. The end goal, I think, is to collect all the cards and buy all the decorations from the shopping channel. The way you earn those items and the money to buy them is exploring outside, watching the 2 quiz channels, or auctioning your art. Every other channel I've talked about, worthless. The only reason you would play them is for the fun of it, and I'm putting the word fun in giant quotation marks. Surely, if we're going to make Pokemon TV channels, we should be using a little more imagination.
In the case of 1.5-year-old Ty Priest, Aton, you are not.